want you to picture this for a second. You're watching this grainy security camera footage, and you see a man just running, absolutely running for his life.
Yeah, and he's not running from, a mugger or something you'd expect. He is sprinting out of an international airport terminal.
A place that's supposed to be safe, a place of transit, and he drops everything, his wallet, his phone, his passport, all his luggage.
And then in this one last, just desperate act, he climbs an 8-foot barbed wire fence and completely vanishes into a field of sunflowers.
That man was Lars Mittank. He was 28 years old, and that footage from Varna, Bulgaria, back in July 2014, basically made him the most famous missing person on YouTube.
It's just an incredible story. What started as a typical fun, boozy holiday with his friends in a place called Golden Sands.
Right.
It turned almost overnight into this terrifying, isolated flight that was all captured with this bizarre and stunning clarity.
So today, we're going to do a deep dive into all the source material we have. The police reports, the medical files, what the family has said, all the circumstantial stuff. We're really trying to figure out what kind of enemy Lars was running from.
Exactly. Was it a real threat? Something to do with that fight he got into, or maybe something even darker he got pulled into?
Or is what he cut into? Was the enemy inside his own head? Something psychological, maybe a bad medical reaction that made him run from a danger that maybe wasn't even there.
Our mission here is to really just unpack this bizarre chain of events, because we have two incredibly strong theories that they can't both be true. They're mutually exclusive.
So we have to start at the beginning. Before the panic, who was Lars Mittank?
Well, see, that's what makes it so strange. He wasn't known for any kind of erratic behavior. He was a Werder Bremen football fan, had a good job as a precision mechanic, very, very close to his mother, Sandra.
Just a totally stable, grounded guy on a normal trip with his mates to the Black Sea coast.
Exactly. The trip itself, with his 5 friends, was a pretty standard, sun, bars, nightlife. But his friends did note one small, kind of odd thing early on.
What was that?
Lars wasn't really eating. They said he'd maybe have a little soup or a salad here and there, but that was it. At the time, they just thought, oh, it's the heat. It was like 40 degrees Celsius.
But looking back, that little detail feels heavier.
It really does. It sort of sets the stage for the first real turning point. Near the end of the trip, the whole vibe just changes completely.
The fight.
The fight. Lars, being a big fan of his team, gets into an argument with 4 guys who were fans of a rival team, Bayern Munich, over football flags.
And it escalates.
It does. And this is where the timeline of injury and paranoia really kicks off. Lars vanishes for a bit that night, and when he shows up the next morning, he is visibly shaken up.
What did he say happened?
He told his friends he'd been beaten up. He wasn't sure if it was the Bayern fans from the bar or maybe some locals they'd hired. The point is, he was hurt. He had a ruptured eardrum and an injured jaw, and he was having trouble hearing.
Okay, so he's injured. He does the sensible thing. He goes to a doctor.
He does. A local doctor confirms the ruptured eardrum and gives him 2 critical pieces of advice. First, don't fly because of the pressure on the ear. And second, he prescribes him an antibiotic. 500 milligrams of something called cefprozil, also known by the brand name Cefzel 500.
And did he take it?
He refused to be hospitalized, which was suggested, but yes, he took the tablets.
And this is where it gets weird for me. His friends are all about to go home.
Right, and here's the crucial thing. Lars insisted they go. He told them to get on their scheduled flight back to Germany. He decided to stay behind alone to let his ear heal.
So he checks into this other place, the Hotel Color Varna, which was, a cheaper hotel near the airport?
Yeah. And that decision to just isolate himself in a foreign country right after a violent attack, that is the first huge red flag in this whole case. Why would you do that?
And why would his friends just leave him? I mean, he was clearly hurt and upset.
Investigators have wondered the same thing. I mean, the most generous explanation is maybe the flights couldn't be changed, or Lars was just that insistent that he'd be fine for a day or 2.
But the result was a catastrophe.
A total catastrophe. That isolation, plus whatever was going on in his head, it lit a match.
Because it's only a day after his friends leave that his behavior goes from just worrying to, genuinely terrifying.
He calls his mother, Sandra, back in Germany, and he's whispering. He tells her, and he's completely convinced, that people are trying to rob him or kill him.
And The sources say she could actually hear his heart pounding over the phone. I can't even imagine that call.
It's pure visceral terror, and he's obsessed with his money, his security. He tells her the hotel receptionist copied his credit card, and he begs her to cancel it immediately.
And she does it, right, even though the bank told her it couldn't be reactivated once it was canceled.
She did, which just shows you how powerful his fear was. It just overrode any kind of practical thinking.
Then you have the stories about his behavior in the hotel itself. Pacing the halls, hiding in elevators, peeking out of windows.
Now, the family has disputed that specific hotel CCTV footage exists, but the reports from the time are pretty consistent. He was acting like a man who was being hunted. We do know for a fact he left the hotel around 1 in the morning, came back an hour later, no idea what he did.
And then we get what might be the single most important clue in the entire case.
The text.
The texts. At around 3 in the morning, he sends 2 panicked messages to his mom. All they say is, Shaftil 500, what's it?
He's questioning the medication. In the middle of the night, in the middle of this spiral, he's focusing on the antibiotic.
The fear just keeps ratcheting up. The next morning, July 8th, a taxi driver sees him near the beach, just frantically waving for a ride.
And the driver noted something very specific. He said Lars's pupils were fully dilated. He looked terrified. He just wanted to go to the airport. That was his goal.
He thought the airport was safety.
It seems so. When he gets there, he calls his mom again, and for a moment, he actually sounds relieved. He tells her he needs her to send him 500 euros via Western Union.
Why?
He said he'd met another German man who explained how it worked. He also said he felt dirty from, hiding, and that he needed to clean up before seeing the airport doctor.
And his mom tells him to do just that. Go see the doctor, get cleared to fly home. And that brings us to these final chilling moments.
He goes into the airport clinic to see a Dr. Kosta-Kostov. The doctor later said Lars was incredibly nervous, erratic, trembling. He kept saying, I don't want to die here. I have to get out of here.
The tension in that little room must have been just off the charts. But then comes the trigger, the thing that sets him off.
The airport was being renovated at the time, and a construction worker just walks into the office.
And that's it.
That's it. Lars just bolts. He jumps up in a panic and runs, and he leaves everything. Passport, phone, wallet, luggage, a complete and total abandonment of his entire identity.
The security footage is, it's like something from a horror film. You see him sprint out of the terminal. He slows down for just a split second.
And he sort of pats his back pocket like he's checking for the wallet and passport he literally just left on the table.
His mother saw that moment and thought it showed he was thinking clearly, that it was a planned escape.
Which is just... It's heartbreaking, but he speeds up again, runs across the entire parking lot, and with this incredible athleticism, he scales that 8-foot barbed wire fence.
And disappears into that field of 6-foot-high sunflowers next to the highway. He's just gone.
Gone. And to make it all even more suspicious, the doctor, Dr. Kostov, when the police questioned him about the man who came into his office, the construction worker,
yeah,
he changed his story 3 times about who that person was.
Wait, what? 3 times? That is a massive red flag. That immediately makes you question the whole psychotic break theory. It points to some kind of cover-up.
Why would a doctor lie unless he had something to hide? Or was trying to protect someone? Exactly. So Lars is gone. The police search the area with dogs, everything. They find nothing.
Okay, so let's stop with the timeline for a minute and really dig into the 2 big explanations here.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the medical one, the psychosis theory. It all centers on that antibiotic, cefprozil.
Right, which is in a class of drugs called cephalosporins, and our sources are very clear on this. While it's rare, these drugs have a known risk of neurotoxicity.
Cephalosporin-induced neurotoxicity, or CIN. And what does that actually do to a person?
Well, it can cause a whole list of terrifying side effects. We're talking confusion, severe agitation, paranoia, hallucinations, basically delirium, a full break from reality.
But how does it work, like chemically in the brain?
Okay, so to put it simply, the drug can mess with something called GABA in your brain. GABA is basically the brain's brake pedal. It's an inhibitory neurotransmitter that keeps you calm and filters out threats. It tells you that loud noise is a car backfiring, not a gunshot.
So if your GABA system gets disrupted,
the brake pedal is gone. Your brain can't tell the difference between a threat and a non-threat. Every shadow, every person, every sound can feel like a life or death emergency.
So a construction worker walking into a room
could be perceived as an assassin coming to kill you. It fits perfectly with the paranoia, the whispering on the phone, the frantic texts about the pill.
And you have to remember, he had also just had a head injury from that fight.
A huge factor. A traumatic brain injury can make someone much more vulnerable to a rare side effect like this. So you have the injury potentially lowering his seizure threshold and the drug messing with his brain chemistry. It's a perfect storm.
It's a very clean, very compelling medical explanation.
Hey.
But it doesn't explain everything.
No, it doesn't. And that's where the criminal theory comes in. The idea that he was running from a very real, very human threat.
Because Lars himself kept saying he was being followed, that people were trying to kill him. And why ditch your ID unless you desperately need to become a ghost?
Which brings us to the most persistent theory on the criminal side of things, the drug mule theory.
Okay, let's really game this out. What if, after his friends left, he was forced or coerced into transporting drugs, maybe internally?
If that's the case, his behavior suddenly starts to make a very different, very chilling kind of sense.
The credit card, for example. Was he really scared of a hotel receptionist, or was he trying to erase any digital trail that connected him to a criminal group?
And that Western Union request for 500 euros at the airport, was that for some random German man, or was that the money for the drop, the payment he had to make before he could get out?
So in that scenario, the construction worker isn't a hallucination. He's either a cop or he's one of the gang members there to make sure the deal goes down.
And if Lars panics and thinks he's about to be caught, what's his only move? Run. Ditch the ID, ditch the phone, get off the grid instantly. It's a survival tactic.
And then you have the doctor changing his story, the questions about the full security footage. It all feeds into this idea of local corruption, or at least a powerful reason to not want the full truth to come out.
That's the whole conflict right there. Was the threat invisible and inside his own brain, a terrible chemical accident?
Or was it real and organized and waiting for him just outside that airport, prompting him to choose total anonymity over capture or, maybe death?
And we still don't know. There have been unconfirmed sightings over the years, a prostitute in one town, a truck driver somewhere in Germany. But nothing has ever been confirmed. Lars Mittank is still missing.
The fact they never found a body doesn't solve it either?
Not at all. If it was psychosis, he could have died from exposure somewhere remote, hidden himself away. But if it was a criminal conspiracy, his disappearance would have been fast and professional the second he got over that fence, picked up in a waiting car and just evaporated.
In the end, Lars Mittank's last confirmed action, fleeing a place of safety, an airport, and throwing away every single thing that made him him. It shows either a total break with reality or a very deliberate last-ditch choice to survive.
And the question that just hangs over this whole case is, which threat was the more terrifying one? The one that was raging inside his mind, or the one that was possibly waiting for him just beyond that airport fence? It's a terrifying question with no answer.